Hey, Jill, I am so excited to talk to you today and help people really with one thing. So, there's one thing that I want people to get out of this, which is clarity on where they are, clarity on where they are and what they can do right away to move forward and advance yourself in a way where you get more out of life. It's really that simple, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want clarity? It's that, and whilst you think you've got it, and you go, I'm clear, I'm fine on everything. Actually, it's a movable feast, isn't it? And every so often you're like, what? I thought. So there's always that movable space where we can step into clarity and get it again, and then a few days later it will move. It's just the way it is because you learn something and you don't know. Here's I said this to you before. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know.
That's perfect. So one of the things that I do is I trigger a lot of people. So when I say everything we were taught is wrong, people are like, "Well, that's not true." I'm like, "Well, it actually is true." So what, for example, like let's use an example right now. There is no clarity. Clarity doesn't mean anything. There's clarity and disclarity. It works together. It's a little circle.
Yeah,
So you're not in clarity, you're not in clarity, you're in clarity, and then you're moving towards I'm not in clarity, and then you're moving back to I'm in clarity. And what's happening is
exactly.
you
Yeah,
spin that circle faster, you go like this, right?
yeah. So true. I mean, going back to what I just said about not knowing is the arrogant person that feels like I'm an expert. And they have this kind of intense clarity on, yes, I know my stuff, I do this, I do this, I do this, and it's going to work. Is it though? Really?
Is it
uh,
though?
and so if you take the arrogance away and they go, well, I know what I'm doing at the moment, and I know that works for me. I know that I don't know how to be a brain surgeon, but I know that's out there and I could learn to be a brain surgeon if I chose to. But there's stuff out there that I don't know yet. And until somebody uncovers that for you, how can you have pure clarity all the time? So clarity, as you say, it's this circle where you kind of move in and out of who you are and where you are. So disclarity, I've never heard that expression before, but I'm going to borrow that if that's all right. I like
I
that.
didn't make it up. I didn't, it wasn't me. I have to give credit to what's her name? She wrote a book called Clarity, and I'm going to remember her name because
Okay.
it's actually a really good book. It's right on my shelf there, but let's keep going. So you have to understand where you are. So is your work in this world of experience, or is your work being in this world of experience, but anchoring yourself into something bigger? Because what you need to do and who you need to listen to becomes very, very different.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, I love that. And it's the being that for me makes allows me to let go of the shackles of being right or wrong. I don't have to be right or wrong. I get to be curious. I get
Get
to,
to be curious.
yeah, find out more, understand more, explore more. If up isn't is up and down is down, what's in between? It's just really. I think as you said to me the other day, there are some certainties in life that if you throw a pen up, it's going to fall down. So gravity is kind of a certainty at the moment. Who knows? It might not be for some people, but generally we take some things as a given. But everything else is open. Most things are man-made, woman-made, man-made, generally man-made. We'll put all the blame over on your side there.
Yeah,
It doesn't
well
mean to
deserved.
say, it doesn't mean to say that just because it's been like that for hundreds of years or thousands of years, it is like that now or could not change. So it's this kind of get rid of right or wrong, and it's like, oh, now what could happen?
Yes.
Also releases you from upset, from anger, from stress, from so many other things. I should, I ought to, I need to. Do you though? So get rid of all of those things, and it just takes the shackles away of like, well, I can be anyone I want to be, and I don't have to wait. I can choose now. Who am I going
Right
to be?
now. Right now. So for example, is success good or bad? Is failure good or bad? Neither. Again, success, failure, continuum.
Yeah.
Success, failure, continuum, existing in the success failure continuum. So what do some people do? They're successful in the world. They feel like something's missing, so they try to be more successful. You're finished with that. It's time to leap to that next phase.
Mhm.
For other people, they've leapt to the next phase and they've decided, here's what I'm here to do. And they're doing it. And then there's this something's missing, something's missing, something's missing, because
Mhm.
they're still in the success part of that circle. They're not in the failure part, because you have to go into the failure part to release more truth so you can go up to the next level.
What if we took that word failure that has so many negative connotations? You know, you failed at school, you didn't get the piece of paper to say that you were a valid student and had worked hard. That failure has this connotation of, you know, what, I'm useless, I'm worthless, you know, I can't do this, I need to stop doing this because I can't make a success of it. The opposite is a failure. What if failure was just like, you get to learn stuff. You failed. Oh, interesting. What happened? How did that happen? Let me see if I can, and I go back to curious. I think we're so hooked up on language is so powerful, and the
Yes.
words we use have been so decimated to mean something. And I don't know why, but social media has forwarded it forward for us. But the intensity of people's emotions are huge when they feel they can possibly get away with it from an anonymity perspective. But the words that we use have such power over people. They don't have to. You again, it's something you can let go. But failure is one of those words at school. It's like, oh no, I had a big red cross on my work. Oh, devastation. And that was like a sleepless night of not being able to, oh, how about, you know, you got a cross. Let's see what you can learn from that. That's interesting. Oh, I didn't know. I thought I knew that. And apparently I don't. So let me see what I can learn. It's this curiosity. And if the world was full of curious people who connected with other curious people, how many of the world's problems could be solved in a heartbeat? Because we're all coming at it from the same being of, let's create something together. Let's be curious together. I
We
love
didn't
that.
we didn't plan this out, but you just described what you're doing. So
Everything comes
this
around
is
to
not a
that.
sales pitch, folks. It's just sort of happened. So you should talk about collaboration global. It fits with what you just said.
Well, there is a quote by Buckminster Fuller that talks about, if you want to change the paradigm or the model of what you see, you can't change the paradigm, you have to make a new model. And that's kind of what Collaboration Global is. We look at collaboration as the being of collaboration, the love and connection and abundance, heart set and mindset, in order to transform things around us for the benefit of those who potentially cannot transform them for themselves. So everything we do is from a pay it forward mindset. How can I help you? What can I do? Hey, let's learn this together. Then once we've learned this, what else can we do? Who else can we help? Let's go and put that to a different market or to a different audience or to a charity or whatever. So I collect people who are passionate about something that they are really good at. They've discovered their genius. They've nailed that bit, and it's like, right, I need to help as many people as possible. It's like, well, doing it on your own is really hard. So come and absorb a loving, supportive, challenging community, and then do more of what you do and let us help you get it out there as well. And then we just all help each other, rather than the old paradigm of fear, scarcity, and competition. So that
Mm.
doesn't sit right with me. I don't like that. I don't want to sell people on fear. I don't want to sell people on there's not enough to go around. I don't want to sell people on, you know, cut out your competition. That's last century, massively, even not the century before. We've been in that space for way too long. And imagine the map of consciousness if all of us were to raise into love and connection,
Yeah.
abundance.
Well, let's talk about that. So there's two ways people will interpret, well, three ways, but let's focus on two that people will interpret what you said. Well, let's do three. So some people will interpret this as, what do I get out of that? So if I come and do that, I'm going to get something, right? That's a
Mhm.
way to interpret it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because if you come, you will get something out of it, which is you will realize at some point you don't need to get anything out of it because you already have everything you need. Now, there's other people who are going to hear this and say, This is about getting the result in the world. This is about helping people get whatever this thing is that I care about. Better mindset, clean water, whatever that physical improvement is. That's good too. So you come and you expand in that area. There's other people who are going to listen to this and say, this is an opportunity for me to be able to elevate myself, in other words, my being, to be a collaborative, to be in that state of existence where I am attracting collaboration, I am energetically charging up collaboration. So you can look at this at all three levels. So if you're listening to this, one of those makes sense to you and the other two may not. Pick the one
Yeah.
that makes sense because
Yeah.
that's where you are right now.
And that's fine. And that's the whole purpose, isn't it? Is when you're in a community, you'll spot people that are maybe the leaders of the community. And just from a practical space, there are people that you can teach, and then there are people that will teach you. And wherever you happen to be on your journey is fine. And wherever you want to get on your journey is perfect. Doesn't all have to happen yesterday. You can do it in your own time continuum. And I'm a believer in we can stretch time as well. We can fit an awful lot in when we try. And I think if you're coming into a space of what's in it for me, then you're going to travel, as the African proverb says, if you travel alone, you can travel fast. But if you travel together, you will travel far. And by being with people who are seeing the future and working towards a better future, then your success levels are going to go through the roof. Because success for me, I mean, I've had people that come to our community and go, oh yes, because of this community, I now earn this and I get this much money every single month and I've got a great deal and I'm on a board of directors. And I'm like, yeah, okay, great, well done.
Important,
Yes, and it
but
works, and
doesn't
that's
mean
fine.
much, doesn't mean anything, but it's important.
It doesn't light my fire personally.
Yeah.
But the people that come to me and say, if it wasn't for this community, I wouldn't have reconciled with my dad. If it wasn't for this community, I was a functioning alcoholic all my adult life and I've been sober for 5 years. If it wasn't for this community, I'd be dead now. That to me is win, 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 win. But you know what? If somebody, like the other day when we were having a conversation, you went to me, I never saw it like that before. I like that. That's really interesting. And I'm like, well, my day is done. That's it. So long as I can give somebody, that's success. You know,
Yeah.
it wasn't any, I'm not going to pay you until you tell, I'm not going to tell you until you pay me. There was none of that kind of scarcity and I'm going to protect my IP. It was like, let me give you everything that I know. I'm happy to share everything that I know. I don't know everything in the world, although I tell my husband I do, obviously. But I am curious and I'm learning. And that's the whole point about being in a community is you're sharing stuff. And when everyone is of the same mindset of love, you know, providing you've got mutual respect, you listen well, you are aware of each other's limitations and liabilities and triggers, and you help each other over those kind of things, then all of a sudden energetically, you know, God bless David Hawkins, we're boats in a harbour and the tide comes in and we're all rising each other up together. And when you get that kind of energy, you can feel it. If you're in
Oh,
face to
yeah.
face, you're in a room, you feel it. But even on a Zoom call, you
Yep.
get that shiver down your spine, you get the goosebumps, and it transcends technology.
Yes, that's true. And so I'll explain David Hawkins a little bit. So what David Hawkins did that was really helpful is he gave us a language we can use to explain what we're talking about because it's difficult to understand. It's difficult to talk about. So there's levels of, think about it like a lens. You have different types of glasses and you put on, pair of glasses and all of a sudden you can see, and then your prescription sort of degrades. And then you got to go back. You're like, oh, wow, that prescription doesn't work anymore. You put on a new lens and you're like, wow, I never saw that before. Now here's the challenge. There's 3 levels where it's really hard to jump. You leap, you can't walk forward because you have to die. Okay, I mean, let's be honest. So, and I don't mean literally, but in a way, literally.
Mm.
So when you are able to do that leap, everything will change for you. You will feel like you put on a new pair of glasses, and you're going to know when you're ready, because you're going to feel like something's missing. There's something bigger right in front of me. I can't quite grasp it. You're doing this. You're like, how do I do this? And you're trying to figure it out. And you're like, okay, I got my coach and I got my thing. And I got my, it's not going to happen operating like that. What helps with Collaboration Global and some other things like it is that energetics will lift up because there's people who've already done it. You cannot do this in a room with people who are at the same place you are at. You're going to go like this.
Yeah.
Now you could, but you've got to really learn how to go deep inside yourself and go do it. So it can be done. It's just that's the hard way. That's how I did it. I did it the hard way.
Yeah.
By myself.
So if somebody was listening to this and they're like, I haven't got a clue what you guys are talking about, where would you recommend they started?
So it's very simple. Very simple. 30 minutes a day. Think about Chat GPT. It's the same thing. It's prompts. So spend 30 minutes a day with yourself. Don't meditate. Don't listen to music. Don't do anything. Get yourself into a nice state of mind. I do walks. That's the easiest way. Now, everybody's got their own way. Remember, I said, don't meditate. Don't meditate. What you want to do is you want to start asking yourself questions. Who am I? Why am I doing this? What's going on? What happened yesterday? What do I really want? Step 2 of that step 1, I call it the board of directors meeting. I won't go through the whole thing. I got a video up on YouTube about how to do it. But the part of step 1 is all we're going to do right now is listen to the answer. And when the answer is confusing, because there's an answer that's going to come from inside you. Trust that answer. It matters. But prompt it. What do you mean by that? Why did you tell me to go call Joe? I don't want to call Joe, because what's going to happen is a lot of the things you're going to be asked to do are the exact opposite of what you want to do.
Awkward.
So that's a way people can get started. It's very practical. What I would tell people is what I just said is the simplest thing in the world. Everything is extraordinarily simple.
Yes, you're right. You're right. My first experience in this kind of arena came from religion, and I'm not a fan of religion, again, man-made. But I was very lucky to have a vicar in my local church who was amazing. And there was an era back then, so I'm talking early 90s, called Catching the Fire. And everyone was big into the Holy Spirit. It was just you being and then letting your body, and whether you call
That's
it.
incredible. You were able to do that in a religious tradition.
I know.
That's unusual.
I look back now and I see how blessed I was in that space. And the experiences, the physical and manifestations of a Holy Spirit or a source energy or energy within me.
Yes.
The stories I could tell, Larry, honestly. That was a seed. That wasn't even everything. That was the seed planted. And then
That's
as time
the
goes
beginning.
on, you come across the people. But from that point of view, I learned to hear that voice and it wasn't me, it was that voice inside of me from within that, as you say, you got to call Joe and be like, oh. But I knew that was the direction. So for me, I do a stream of consciousness. So I record into my phone. So I'll go on a walk or something. I put my headphones on with a little microphone and I'm talking to myself like a crazy lady.
I have tens of thousands of hours of books and it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And it just, and the art, whatever the problem is, the solution just can't, it fights its way out of there, but it gets out of there. And quite often, like you said, I just sit and I look at a view, especially if I've got the ocean and a horizon.
Helps.
I get so much information and so much clarity. We're back to clarity again. It is any big decision I've ever made in my life, I have to be near the ocean, otherwise I can't breathe to make it. I have to be able to, I smell the ocean and I can stand there and it takes 15 minutes. And I'm like, all that, I could have been worried about it for weeks and weeks and weeks, but in 15 minutes, it's done.
Now, here's the problem with all this for people, because nobody told me this. And that is there's two things that are blocking you from. First, the voice is you. That's the first thing to
Yes.
understand. You're basically talking to yourself. So I have a video called The Town that explains how that works. So you're talking to yourself and you're getting these answers. Why don't you have full access to all the answers? So what is the Holy Spirit? It's infinite intelligence. So infinite intelligence and the Holy Spirit is the same thing. So it's just different names and traditions that get you to it. How do you get access to it? There's two things in the way. Your patterns of burden inside yourself is in the way. The second thing that's in the way is your belief systems.
Mm.
Hard is bad. Um, um, failure, whatever you want to call it, needs to be success. I need to turn that into success. I know what's best for me now. This is my decision about where I'm going, and nothing's going to stop me. Those belief systems are keeping you from basically getting everything you've always wanted.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? And it's no one's fault. It's not like, oh my goodness, I'm doing it wrong. Again, there's no right or wrong in this world. It's just how we've been conditioned throughout our lives. This is how you think about things.
Yep.
And because we're that goldfish swimming around in the murky water, until you get pulled out, it's just like the glasses scenario. And you look back and you go, whoa, that water was dirty. Wow. And then you get thrown back in again and you're swimming around in the murky water and you don't notice it anymore because you're just in it all the time. So sometimes you have to come away from those, the family or the traditions or the way you have been, in order to look back and go, wow, I wasn't a nice person, or why did I do that? How did
Mm.
that? And realize where it came from. And it can be that could, I've done many times, look back and gone, oh, so that incident when I was 4 years of age, oh, I see it
What I
now.
mean, folks, by burden patterns, it's the same pattern. And as you become aware of those patterns, they come into consciousness, they start dissolving.
Yeah.
That makes a huge difference in moving towards getting everything you've always wanted. For financially successful entrepreneurs, we, and I put myself in this category too, are driven towards vision. In other words, we want to make an impact. The problem is we're making an impact on this plane instead of making an impact on this plane. The only way to make an impact on this plane, in other words, helping people relieve their burdens and belief systems so they get everything they always wanted in a unique way based on the vision we can create for them, we have to elevate ourselves inside ourselves. It's really that simple. And if you don't, you're going to feel like something's missing and
Yeah.
your life won't be what it could be.
Yeah. That that is clarity right there.
Well, I'm
That is,
working on it. So I'll tell people this.
mm.
People think when you get an interstate expansion, whatever you want to call this thing, that you come out the other side of it and everything's just like, oh, bliss. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, sort of, but you have to learn to live in the world and manage that, those little circles.
Yeah.
Right? You live in those little, success, whatever the opposite of success is. Yeah, failure is not the best word. Circles. Learning to live in that is challenging, but you're not suffering anymore. That's the difference.
Yeah, that is exactly it. It's the suffering that people either away from, aren't they? And they're running towards a success. And it's sometimes success comes. I mean, these are, as far as I understand it, NLP, neuro linguistic programming terms. Your success comes from the moving away from what you don't want, as opposed to moving towards what you do want. So, as you say, if you've kind of found the thing that's missing, it's everything becomes easier. I mean, whilst you're on your journey to the what's missing, everything, because you're not holding on to those things that were
Yes.
tightening you up all the time, and it
So we
just
only have a couple more minutes. What I'll leave people with that in that statement, and then let's talk a little bit more about what you're doing and how to get in touch with you. And I'll say the same with me, is that what's missing is yourself. So yourself's divided.
yeah.
So S self, big S self, not big S is in Sam. Self, that's your real self. It's inside you. It's talking to you. And
Hmm.
then small S self is your self of experience. When those are divided, you're suffering.
Mm.
Right. It's pretty much that simple. So with Collaboration Global, you want to talk a little bit more about, we got 2 more minutes of what you're offering people?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to create kind of little online country where you can come and hang out with really gorgeous people who are on a mission to make the world a better place. And collaboration can help with the personal development, business development, and collaboration. And for me, I'm like, I'm going to change governments and all sorts of things, because when enough of us come together with a pure purpose and understanding what our being is and raising that consciousness, we can move
We're
mountains.
doing the same thing. It just looks different. So for me with
Yeah.
Red Pill Pathway, it's about financially successful entrepreneurs who got the kind of things they wanted and they came out the other side and they're saying to themselves, really?
Yeah. Is this it?
Isn't there more to it?
Yeah.
Yes, there is. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. And hopefully this was helpful to some people.
Thank you for inviting me, Larry. Every time we have a conversation, it's a pure joy. Thank you.